That's a click, right? Okay. So I'm looking at the tomorrow here, right? So that's why the title is appropriate. So we want to tell you how we intend to train some of you who are going to be engineers of tomorrow, right? And some of the things that I say are just going to be a follow-up on what Sabi said and what Rizwan said as well. So I'm going to start out with just to tell you very, very quickly what the difference between science and engineering is. So we're the School of Science Engineering. Science is intertwined with engineering, right? So very, very briefly speaking, so engineering is something which stands on science as a foundation, right? So we have the foundation here, which is sine theta, cos theta, all of that stuff. And on top of it is what an engineering solutions design, right? And if I give you a definition, engineering uses fundamental scientific knowledge to assist people. It tries to solve problems, right? It tries to solve and looks at problems in the society, and we intend to engineer solutions. And I mean engineer here as a verb and not as a noun, right? But since we're talking about the future, so that means there has to be a notion of some time in my talk. What I want to tell you in the next few minutes is that the nature of engineering has changed over time. It does change because as the scientific knowledge beneath it increases and as the society around us changes as well, right? So drive home the point. What I have over here is a list of greatest engineering feats of the 20th century, right? So this was the past, right? So more than 100 years ago, 20 years of 21st century maybe, right? Now this is from the National Academy of Sciences, which is based in the US, and there are many, many challenges at the list, achievements at the list. I picked just 5, okay? Now these are some things that you all take for granted, right? But you don't really, I don't know if you realize this or not, how this has changed our society overall, right? So electrification is one. So the greatest engineering achievement, one of the greatest engineering achievements of the 20th century is electrification, right? Is an automobile, right? Even if it's a Miran, because that really is, so I deliberately picked up a Miran here, right? So that really is an engineering achievement, right? It has changed our lifestyle completely. Airplanes is one, right? Water supply and distribution is one. Things that we take for granted. Or, I mean, so maybe they really can appreciate. Water supply and distribution is really, really a blessing that we take for granted. Others in our country, they don't really have. Electronics that you take for granted. I mean, you don't really, maybe आपको अंदाजा भी नहीं होगा how they have changed your life. I mean, कितनी electronics आपके around it, right? In your pockets right now, there's a whole lot of electronics. Okay? Just as a note, the computer that took us to the moon, you know how much memory it had? 4 KB. How much does your cell phone have? Okay, so you understand the scale of how things have changed. Okay? कितनी होती है? 6 GB, 8 GB, right? That's not 1,000 times larger, that's a million times larger. Okay? So this was the 20th century, right? Now, the same bunch of people got together again, and then they tried to identify what are the greatest engineering challenges of the 21st century. Here's the list that they came up with. And this is the first one of those. I've picked, there are many, I've picked about 6. Okay? One of the challenges, the greatest engineering challenges of the 21st century is to advance personalized learning. Could you have ever linked engineering with learning, personalized learning? What is personalized learning? Okay, I don't have a lot of time to go into the details of each and every one of these things. So personalized learning is that each and every one of you needs to have a personalized learning experience. Okay? As an equitable learning experience, and engineering can help in that, right? Technology can help in that. To restore, the urban infrastructure is there, but one of the greatest engineering challenges of the 21st century is to restore and improve urban infrastructure, or as they call it, to build sustainable cities, right? And you'll see a lot of work at the School of Science and Engineering regarding this particular aspect. Okay? Managing the nitrogen cycle, right? So that's one of the greatest engineering challenges of the 21st century, right? So that has to do with food security, right? Providing access to clean water. This is one of the greatest engineering challenges of the 21st century. To engineer better medicines. That's one of the greatest engineering challenges of the 21st century. To reverse engineer the brain is one of the greatest engineering challenges of the 21st century, right? And the list is long. I just picked these 6. Now, what's the difference between these 6 and the first 5 that you saw? Okay, the first 5 that you saw, the 20th century, they're all mega, right? So they're all mega projects. I mean, they have to do with scale. They're bड़ी चीजें, bridges बनाने हैं, grid डालना है. All of these are tangibly mega structures, right? As opposed to that, you need to engineer better medicines. Okay, that's one of the greatest engineering challenges of the 21st century. And if some of you are interested, how do you engineer better medicines? I mean, there are people from biology here, there are people from engineering here, and we could tell you offline how this can be done. But the point here is, आप जब high school करे होते हैं ना, FSC करे होते हैं, I mean, people typically take mathematics and biology as mutually exclusive. अगर मैंने bio पढ़नी है तो physics मैंने maths नहीं पढ़नी, maths पढ़नी है तो bio नहीं पढ़नी, and my kid has gone through that as well, right? And this is not today's world or the world of the future. I mean, for the world of the future, you need to be trained in multiple disciplines. All of the things that are coming up in the future are multidisciplinary in nature. Okay? So who could have thought, so when I did FSC, ya to pre-medical hota tha ya pre-engineering hota tha, right? So, but you need both of these here to engineer better medicine. So to reverse engineer the brain, you also need both of them. And that's why at SSC, you are not only going to study mathematics, but also you're going to study biology. And people are going to say, yeah, mathematics is not biology. This is one of those reasons, right? Now, I want to end this with this little character here. There's another meme, right? So this was a past, right? And what you see over here with Captain Hook is actually a prosthetic device that the engineering of the 17th century Iswi, yeah. So that's the prosthetic that they designed. But what about the present day or the future? क्या ख्याल है? क्या कर सकते हैं? How can technology help in devising or building up this prosthetic?
Instead of like instead of using like
I didn't hear you. Look it up. I'll come back. GB, please go ahead.
Right. So something more personalized than actual human limb.
Yeah.
For example, how like appendages, phalanges, or be linked to the nervous system.
Something which looks more like a limb. Excellent.
So you can also connect it to the nerves, so it's visible for the actual.
Right. So you can connect it to the nerves. Right. All of this is maybe futuristic, but the future is here. Right. And what this schematic I think is from 2012. Right. So this was 10 years ago. Right. And they just like talk about how you can connect brains to machines. Right. So you can have a neural implant that goes inside your brain, sort of, right? And detects neural impulses. And those are electrical signals. So this is electrical engineering inside your brain. Because those electrical impulses that they try to pick up, you have a decoder here that tries to make sense of what they represent. Right? As I move my arms, I'm actually generating electrical signals that this decoder can interpret and then use it to drive something which looks like a regular prosthetic. Okay? And this is, all of this is current work, right? People have done this already, right? And in the future, right? So there's people who are working on this as well. You can have haptic feedback on these sensors as well. Okay? You can have a sense of touch, right? Get that feedback from your brain and use that to really control your limbs. Sabine baat ki thi log ki. Or I mean, just imagine if, let's say, my grandparents, okay, if they were alive, if they were to come back in today's age, everything that they see around would be nothing less than magic. Okay, I mean, just really think about it. Okay, even 20 years ago, I mean, the things that you see around you, are no less than magic, what you could imagine 20 years ago. And I think this is how I'd like to end. So this is from RCC Clark, from I think Space Odyssey. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, right? So let's hoping that a lot of you will do magic in the